This home looks amazing. Why hasn't it sold? Is something wrong with it? Buyers keep asking me the same questions right now. And most of the time, the answer is no, there is nothing wrong with the house. But there might be something risky about the deal. What's tripping up buyers isn't the home itself, it's the history behind it. Let me explain. What's tripping up most buyers right now isn't the home itself, it's the history behind it. And if you're buying in 2026, this matters more than people realize. In this video, I'm going to explain why some beautiful move-in ready homes are quietly sitting and give you 5 specific ways to avoid buying something that looks perfect now, but limits your flexibility and equity later. Stick with me because this is one of those things that buyers don't see until it's too late. Lately, I've been having the same conversation over and over again with buyers here in Atlanta. We'll be looking at listings and someone will say, "This house is gorgeous. Why hasn't it sold?" And then when you dig in, you usually find the same pattern. The home was bought during the peak of the market during COVID, it's fully updated, it's move-in ready, and it's priced at a premium. A few years later, it's back on the market, and suddenly it's just sitting. That's not random. And this isn't about avoiding nice houses. It's about understanding how certain homes became riskier than they look. So let me rewind for just a minute and explain how we got here. During the COVID market, especially 2020 through 2022, the rules were completely different. If a house was updated, it was gold. New kitchen, updated bathrooms, fresh paint, modern finishes, the whole shebang. Those homes flew off the market. Buyers were offering $50,000, $75,000, sometimes $100,000 over asking. Trust me, I lived it. And not because buyers were reckless, but because interest rates were so low that price almost stopped feeling real. If the monthly payment worked, people moved forward, no questions asked. The mindset wasn't, "Does this make sense long term?" It was, "How do I win this house?" A lot of those buyers are now starting to try to sell their homes. And not because the homes were bad and not because they were in bad neighborhoods. Life just changed. Kids happened. The commutes changed. Work from home turned hybrid, then back to the office. Space needs shifted. And here's where today's buyers need to pay attention. Many of those homes are struggling to resell, and not because they're unattractive, but because of how they were purchased. The buyers who bought them paid an absolute premium for someone else's upgrades and never had the chance to add value themselves, and maybe they didn't want to. That's the risk. So let's talk about how to avoid this if you are thinking about buying a home in 2026. Here are the 5 things I walk through with buyers all of the time. Number 1, buy a home with a longer time horizon than you think you need. This is the very first conversation I have with buyers. I always ask 2 questions. Could this home work for you in 5 years? Could it work for you in 10 years? And I'll be honest, my personal opinion, I always feel better about the 10-year mark. And not because everyone stays 10 years, but because buying as if you might gives you a margin. The shorter your time frame, the less room you have if life changes or the market pauses. Number 2, understand how equity actually builds, especially early on. In many metro Atlanta neighborhoods, prices didn't crash. They just plateaued. Meaning values didn't go up, but they didn't go down either. They stopped rising the way they had been. And when you combine that with how mortgages work, it explains a lot. So early on, you're paying mostly interest on your mortgage and very little principal. So buyers who purchased less than 5 years ago often haven't built as much equity as they expected. If you bought at a premium and values flatten, time alone doesn't fix that. Number 3, be careful for paying for someone else's upgrades. If a home is fully renovated when you buy it, ask yourself, what is the value that I am adding over time? A lot of buyers during the peak paid for future appreciation upfront. They paid for tomorrow's equity yesterday. Before you buy, ask yourself this. If I needed to sell this in 5 or 6 years, what would justify the price to the next buyer? Number 4, buy flexibility, not perfection. Homes that age better financially usually give you options: an unfinished basement, extra space that can evolve, a layout that can change, room to expand. Those things aren't flashy, but they protect you. They give you choices if life looks a little different later. And number 5, don't confuse easy now with safe later. That beautiful, fully updated home feels easy. No projects, no waiting, no work, no extra cash you have to bring for those renovations. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you understand what you're paying for. Convenience has value. But when convenience comes at a premium, you want to be sure it still makes sense if circumstances change. Here's the reality that buyers don't always think or talk about. Some people who bought at the peak are now selling for less than they paid, not because they made a bad financial decision, but because the market moved on. Just because someone paid at a certain price yesterday doesn't make that home worth it today or tomorrow. Markets changed, buyer behavior changes. But as far as buying in 2026, the goal isn't to avoid buying. I'm not saying that at all. The goal is to avoid buying yourself into a corner. You want a home that works for you today and still makes sense if your life looks a little different later. So when you're scrolling listings and that perfect move-in ready house pops up, pause for just a second. Not to overthink it, just to zoom out and ask yourself, could this still work for me in 10 years? Does this house give me flexibility? Or am I paying a premium for convenience right now? Because the smartest home buyers today aren't just buying for the moment they're in. They're buying with the future in mind. And in this market, that kind of thinking really matters. Thank you for watching. I hope I see you on the next one.